Hello and welcome to another edition of Close Mode, the Enterprise Sales Show. I'm Brian Dietmeyer, CEO of Close Strong, and today I'm really lucky to be joined by Randy Sahyouni, who is the sales director at PrimePay. And for those of you who aren't familiar, PrimePay is a payroll and HR solution that's designed specifically for small and emerging business. You and I were chatting last week, and we wandered into the topic of leveraging data analytics, and you kind of really pulled me in with some of the stuff that you're doing. One of the things you said was, we're not executing a spray and pray approach, that we're leveraging AI and analytics for targeting and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering, my first question has to do with sort of stages of the sales process that you're leveraging these type of tools. Is it just top of the funnel, or are you using the tools all the way through all the stages?
Yeah, and just wanted to say thank you for having me.
Sure.
I'm super excited to be able to speak with you guys about this. It's something that I'm very passionate about. In regards to your question, is it always top of the funnel? In my 10-year career, we've always tried to use some sort of analytics or, data that can help us. Now recently, really post-pandemic and with all the big AI companies coming in, what we've done here, what I've done with my team at PrimePay, we really try to integrate the data analytics throughout the sales process, not just at the top of the funnel.
Okay.
While it's crucial, for lead generation and, qualification, we also try to use these tools for nurturing leads or really kind of tailoring our communication or post-sale engagement to ensure customer satisfaction and retention. So by leveraging, analytics at each stage, we can ensure that our approach is targeted and personalized, which really has helped us enhance the effectiveness of our interactions.
Given that answer, there's a lot out there. Predictive analytics, buyer intent data, account intelligence, technographics. What technology are you employing, and why? How is it helping you?
Yeah. Currently we've used things in my career the last couple of years in regards to for this sort of thing. It's we've done Zoom Info. We try to get the gold package that they offer. Outreach IO, 6 Sense. We really use those kind. We try to do a combination of the predictive analytics, account intelligence, technographics. The predictive analytics, it really helps us anticipate the customer needs and behaviors. It's really enabled like that proactive engagement for our reps. The account intelligence provides, how the best way to put it, provides deep insights into the customer's business, and it really enhances our ability to tailor our communication to them about our solutions most effectively. And then the technographics allows us to understand the technological landscape of our prospects, like what are they using, which it informs us how we can position ourselves to really drive our payroll and HCM solutions at PrimePay. When we collect all these tools, we use them together, it really helps us kind of get ahead of the curve and really, put our best foot forward when we're trying to engage in their interest.
Yeah, I think that goes back to what you said to me the other day about sort of this approach versus spray and pray. And I'm wondering, would you point to any other indicators in terms of success metrics, like in terms of process or conversion rates, or what other success metrics would you point to?
Yeah, great question. I mean, in terms of like leading indicators that I've always tried to coach my team, we try to closely monitor metrics like engagement rates, conversion rates at different funnel stages, lead quality scores. Those have been the bigger ones. I mean, these give us really early insights into the effectiveness of our strategies, and it allows for like timely adjustments. For lagging indicators, we look at overall sales growth, customer lifetime value, and retention rates. These metrics helps us like kind of gauge the long-term impact of our data strategies on our business performance.
And how long would you say, like, what's the life cycle of kind of when you started employing the technologies to where you're at today? Are you kind of early stage in this, or how would you describe that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're like kind of in the early stage in that regard, as far as, the life cycle of it. I think the earlier the better. It really kind of gives us all the data that we're needing in order to create, success with the prospect, and hopefully that turns them into a client.
And do you get feedback either? You just made me think of something. Do you get feedback either from the reps or customers about the effectiveness of this?
Well, I think in the game of sales, from the reps, I think we've gotten some really good. It helps us like when we're going out and prospecting, especially if we're looking for new logos. We've gotten some really good feedback of how to kind of set themselves up for, let's say, a rebuttal. How to pivot towards whatever the prospect might say to them because we're actually using this company or we already have this technology and it's and then it helps us to kind of set it up versus, let's say, if they don't have anything at all based on the data, that opens up and changes your conversation and how you want to engage with the prospect or how to kind of gain their interest, but also be ready in case they do say something. As far as feedback from the client, I mean, we try not to, I think more times than not, we're not trying to say like we've learned about those things too
Right.
much. We do kind of emphasize like we've done our research and we're really interested, obviously, in gaining your business and you fit our ideal customer profile. But we try not to, I think, go too deep into it. Like, well, it looks like you purchased, this
Right.
product.
Right.
So, I think they probably know. I think a lot of savvy buyers. I think the buyers have been really savvy the last 2 years. So I'm sure they have some sort of hint that there's something that's giving it away. That we know when to strike and how often you've used it, or basically the digital footcrumbs of breadcrumbs that they're leaving with, or the digital footprints, I guess is the best way to put it, that these tools have given us. So I think they know that we're pouncing close to the right time of maybe when they're looking, because it does tell you like if they've been looking lately and what they have currently, so you can kind of customize your approach to them throughout the deal cycle.
Yeah, it seems like, and the reason I asked the question, one, you already answered. Like for the rep, it should be making their job better. It sounds like it is, and for the customer, I feel like you could perhaps be showing up a little more informed or dropping a little more dialed in messaging to them.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very helpful when you use stuff like what Zoom Info provides or what Sixth Sense has provide, where it can give you a heads up of like what their company has been searching lately, what web pages they've been landing on. It doesn't specifically tell you who and what. Wish it could get to that point maybe in
Right.
5 years or less, but it will tell you like what their company, their IP addresses are providing as far as like looking for payroll solutions, looking for benefit compliance services, looking for applicant tracking or stuff like that, or if they've been on your website lately. I mean, it's been that effective. So whenever you do reach out to them, you should have that good feeling like that. They're either they know who you are or they're interested in what you have, and that's very vital. And as I'm sure salesmen and women from 20 years ago or even 10 years ago would be very envious of that
Yeah.
uh, that data.
Yeah, no, I kind of am. It's funny that you say that because some of my
Yeah.
questions are thinking about, wow, like how, we're not employing a lot of it. We're doing a little bit today, but I'm beginning to realize. So one of the things I love about the podcast, and I told you up front that like you pushed me to get in and learn a little bit more. And I'm also curious, I'm going to go back to this kind of sales process stage thing. Do you think these kinds of data analytics are more helpful at, I know you said you use them across the stages, but would you say it leans toward more help at top of the funnel or renewing existing or growing existing customers, or is it all kind of even?
It's everything. I mean, I think you can coach. If you told me I had to jump, from different stages, like different teams, you could. If you move me from outside sales to inside to customer success, where it's the balance of keeping them happy but also upselling. There's different sales departments, but I think if you use the analytics correctly and you know how to utilize it, you could coach it at any level. Because from outside sales, it will help my reps be able to engage at the right time and when to, prospect to those and have a kind of an idea of what they've been looking at. But at the end of the cycle, let's say that you're anticipating that they're shopping around and they're not just taking your quote, they're taking other vendors' quotes. And also, if you look at it, it should tell you like, oh, they've been, looking at this, these things in their search engines, or they've been landing on these web pages, or they've landed on our web pages less so than they did in the beginning. So that kind of gives you like a lukewarm, hot cold game, if you will, about
Right.
what we're selling to them. But if you transition to inside sales, it will also give you an insight like, okay, well, they know who we are. They already use our services at some capacity, but they're also researching other things. So you could kind of combine that with, we can add more of a suite to their portfolio that they have with us. But if you're on the customer retention time side, if you're seeing your client doing those things with the digital footprints and giving us that the info or the technographics, it might give you an indication that they're not happy and they're looking around or they're looking to find something else. So it's a very important tool, and I'm very, I think, excited, but also could be scared about where the technology can
Yeah.
go with
Yeah.
how much they know about these certain things. I mean, it might get to a point where they'll tell you the VP of HR is looking at your competitor, and they looked at it at 8 a.m., 10 a.m. And who knows what they'll look like? Right now, it's kind of vague, but it does give you some leading indicators of where it is. But you can kind of look at it from every sales cycle and but from also any angle within an organization as far as either acquiring new logos or retaining them.
And I wonder. So I'm thinking about the competitive advantages this gives you, but if your competitors are also have access to these, is this a like stay even game, or do you think my gut would be if you're actually applying and using it better, it's a get ahead game? But how would you talk about the competitive nature of this?
Well, in my world, I've been in the payroll, SaaS, HCM field for 10 years. It's a very saturated field. So I've always told my team the best rep's going to win. And I think the best rep is just the most professional as far as his or her preparation, which these tools and this
Yes.
technology gives you that. But it's also how you present the value. I mean, we try to stay away from the product dumping. Obviously, this data gives you the certain product or service that they're searching for, but then I teach my team to sell outcomes, not the product. You want to get them to the outcome. So if you're speaking to, like a CPA, for instance, something that we've done really well at over at our company, if you're selling to a CPA, you don't want to tell them like, well, we got all these products it's a dime a dozen in the world that you can go find. We want to say, we can streamline your payroll for your clients. We're going to give you that white glove service to your clients, and we can generate an extra revenue stream by you selling your payroll, let's say through a wholesale price. So that's really where we've been in regards to, pitching that to that idea. And so the best salesperson that's prepared and provides that value and stays on top of mind and builds that rapport is going to win. This is just extra tools to, I guess, to avoid the spray and pray method, but also to be more precise and more specific with their day-to-day approach and staying on top of them and monitoring what are their activities looking like so that you know when to be more engaged or more assertive or not.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that this is kind of an aside, but what you were just saying about kind of moving from product to business impact. So many sales leaders that I speak with are this is just one of those perennial problems, right? That everybody I'm talking to is like, how do we quit demoing, and talk more about impact? And do you think these kind of tools help you get there?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're going back to the question about demoing, I mean, I think there's always an opportunity to demo because I think anyone that's buying something that's a big investment, whatever that might be. I mean, it depends on the size of your company and how well you're doing. Where this kind of investment, a $5,000 investment, can be a drop in the bucket or it could be a huge deal. But if you're looking at it from that perspective, I think you always want to look at the demonstration. But it allows these tools and this data gives you that opportunity to really go with a fine tooth comb and be able to be very specific and be able to show the business owner or the decision maker like, okay, this is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
Here's why. And it's giving us all the stuff that they're looking for to maybe prohibit. Because you might say I'm looking for payroll services in the data, but it also says how do I avoid fines and penalties for with the labor union or employee being overworked on hours or time theft when people aren't clocking in on their time management. So it gives you like a lot of different indicators that show that like, okay, payroll services is the umbrella, but let's dig deeper. So when you're going to the demonstration and if you use the preparation, you're hoping that when you're in the demo, you're not only showing the technology, but you're continuing to speak to their pain and that you're providing them the solution,
Yes.
which hopefully builds the value. And they think or they hope that you're the consultant or the consultative approach to it. You're the consultant slash sales executive that's going to get them to where they are and that their money isn't wasted. Basically, the best ROI out of all the vendors.
Yeah, it reminds me of a guest we had on the show who talked about demoing with a purpose, and you just made me think of that it's like, and again, another one of those things that I'd love to learn from. Yeah, are we tying this demo to the outcomes? So there's also this kind of adoption curve on technology in general and this kind of tech. Why do you think all of this? Like I'm wanting more of it myself. Why do you think some people push back a little bit on these kind of technologies?
Some leaders might hesitate to embrace data analytics due to perceived complexities or the upfront investment in technology and training. I mean, those are usually been the indicators when I speak to other sales leaders, like at different events or conventions or webinars or whatever it may be. There's also a challenge in shifting culture towards data-driven decision making. However, but the potential for enhanced decision accuracy, improved efficiency, and better customer experience can far outweigh these initial hurdles. It's really about demonstrating the tangible benefits and supporting a smooth transition for your potential client that's a prospect at that point, or whatever kind of sales you're in, whether it be back to what I was saying, either customer retention, upselling, inside sales, or outside sales. But I think it's just because of the upfront learning curve and maybe the training and the initial investment. But I think the sooner you can adopt to it, because this is where the world's going.
Yes.
The quicker you're going to be able to compete with everybody else. I mean, it's one thing to be saturated in our field, but if you're the team or the company that isn't adapting to it, you're kind of behind the curve. It's almost like you're using MapQuest back in the day versus using a GPS. It's just going to take you longer. You're going to have to plug it in manually, print it out. You're going to have to read it, stop the car. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. And I think eventually people were usually using maps and MapQuest, and then they got to the GPS, and now it speaks to you. So now you're in, cars that drive themselves. I mean, you have to always adopt to the world and the industry, or you're going to kind of be left behind, or it's going to take you longer to get to your sales goals, I believe.
Yeah, that's such a compelling point about hey, this is where the world is going. So you can kind of continue to fight it, and it's funny. We're using some AI generated characters, right, to push videos out to salespeople, and some of my team was like, oh, they're weird, they're robots, right? They're digital robots. But my argument was, a year from now, 18 months from now, reps are going to be used to having digital robots talk to them. So that's the point you just made, that it's like, it's going there. We better figure out how to leverage it. So if someone were just starting, the final question I have for you is so for someone who's listening is, I'm brand new, I am a little bit afraid of that adoption curve. Where do you start? What's the one or two things, I, as a rookie, should be doing right away, or products or solutions I should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, you could go to something just as easy as getting a subscription from like one of the AI, GPTs, the Chat GPTs, Claude, Gemini. There's all these different things that you can just really say, teach me. You want to put the prompt. But as far as sales specific, you could go from they can begin their journey with like data analytics and sales. It's like you can use like a robust CRM, customer relationship management system, with integrated analytic features. I think those tools can help anybody really kind of provide a wealth of insights into their customer interactions, preferences, and history. So it's very pivotal, not only for organizing customer information, but also for analyzing trends and patterns that guide strategic decisions. So if you can start with a CRM that offers that scalability and integrates easily with other analytical tools, as your data capabilities will grow, I think that's a great start. The Salesforces of the world, the Outreach is Gong. A lot of these CRMs or these tools, they're starting to really use, AI, Outreach, our reps use all the time, but it can actually generate an email for you, or like read the email that got sent to you, and then it will give you like suggestions, and Zoom Info can provide you some stuff. I think they have some third-party vendors that they're using. I don't recall the name, but everything you can look at, it's really trying to cut down on the downtime that it takes for you to come with some compelling engagement, whether it be verbal or by email. And I think if you just kind of adopt one of those CRMs, get the training, and have their sales team teach you why it's so pivotal, I think you could really adopt it really quickly, because then it's just your everyday usage of it. The first 2 weeks will be rough, but as you get used to it, you'll start to see how to use it, but B, wow, this is actually cutting down a lot of the the grunt work and the long wait times of me trying to figure things out. I mean, it really becomes that the cliche of work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, it and building it into your daily workflow. You kind of said something along those lines, and I think you mentioned Gemini, and I'm starting to use Gemini more these days, and I find that I have to remind myself to say, wait, there's so many varied tasks to say, why don't I just feed this in? But you also mentioned like how scary where it might go. And I was like double, triple prompting Gemini the other day and said, okay, so what are the names of those people? And then it sort of stopped there. So you do hit a point where it's like, okay, I can only take you so far, but due to privacy concerns, I can't go here.
Yeah, I mean, and there's one I was doing research in prep for this interview. I was looking up some things that are changing, and there's one company. I think it's a startup, but I saw it on my LinkedIn. It was called TADA, TADA, and it's basically I watched the demo, and it's actually they're selling it to companies where if you're rep, if you're a sales rep or any kind of any of the positions we spoke about today, it will receive the email from a prospect and it will actually be in sync with your internal data. So if they're saying, hey, do you guys offer, let's say for our company, payroll solutions and let's say ACA and Cobra, it will actually sync with your data,
Wow.
pull the PDF files, put it into the email, and then and then type out an email saying, yes, yes, Bob, we actually do. Here's why we offer it. Here's the pricing for it and all that. Like it pulls everything and puts together an email for you. And it helps you. It takes like your document storage, but also it's integrating with the communication tool of AI. So it's combining both and shooting it back out to the prospect. So like think about that from like just a professional in the sales world or in the customer service world. Instead of you being like, oh, where do I go find that? Now it's just like getting pulled within 2 seconds, and it's actually typing out that email. Probably you should proofread it, make sure it doesn't sound too
Right.
robotic, but I mean, it's actually cutting down. I would say, from when I was a rep, I mean, you're cutting down at least 30 minutes per email that you're, looking at it saying, is this dated? Is it not? Is this still accurate information? Every company has brand, documentation internally, and they could be dated or it's not as compelling. And it's actually taking all that, summarizing it for you, and being able to shoot out an email. If you don't even want to proofread it, hit send. But it's amazing where just every few months we're getting that kind of tool that is just making your life a lot easier and being able to shoot it back to the prospect pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's another really interesting point about SDRs. I was speaking with someone the other day. I said, well, people think we're going to be able to get rid of SDRs and have it all done by AI. And what I just heard you say, and I agree with, is no, we're going to take some of that task oriented crap away from them so they can spend more time on value added activities. And I think for me, that's the right view with this: is how am I using the human more effectively? Let me leverage what AI can do, and then use the human where it really counts.
Yeah, it's reducing the error component, and it's also making it where if I'm working 8 to 9 hours a day, as most sales reps are, I can go out and really, if I go back at it now with something that I just mentioned with the TADA technology, if I could go back at it now, back in like when I was first beginning, when I really didn't know how to think things through on the sales cycle, if I had it today, I would go out and do my drops all day, could take me, 4 to 6 hours, but I would always get kind of worried because I'd look at my phone and be like, oh man, I got so many different emails. Now I don't have to worry about it because when I get back to my desktop, I can look at the emails. It can pull me data that the prospect or the client is looking for. It can put together a summarization. I go in and proofread it and type it up. But at the same time, I'm not having to worry now that I'm 2, 3 hours behind in work because that kind of technology is out there and I'm going to be accurate and very quick with it. So I can now concentrate on my direct communication while I'm out doing drops or when I'm doing meetings and not really have to worry or burn both ends of the candle at the end of the day. So it's actually, if you think about it, it could be very helpful for mental health. That's a component as well that
Yeah.
you could really dig into because sales can lead people to anxiety and depression and sadness because of the failure rate. I mean, something on my team, I tell them all the time, a conversion meeting to or a drop to meeting conversion in the industry is 10%. So 100 drops that you do you're considered to be good if you get 10 meetings out of that. That's a lot of failure.
Yeah.
It's just like baseball almost. So I think this can really help you as far as like not burning, that midnight oil, if you think about it, by being so behind. Because a lot of the reps I've had that were really good and they decided to, voluntarily leave the industry was because it was just so stressful and the constant failure and what am I doing this for and all that. So I think it could really kind of leak into that. It'd be a great conversation for you guys to have with maybe somebody else. But the mental health component of really cutting it down, the grunt work is very, I think, pivotal and very invaluable.
Unbelievably critical point. I really appreciate you bringing that up, and I feel like lately there's been a couple guests where we're leaning into this more and recognizing, that hey, this is tough. My wife is a data scientist, and she says to me all the time, "This is why people don't do what you do." Right, because of what you just said, and I'm helpful to have that human that it's just like, yeah, that's why people don't start companies, people don't sell, because it's because of the points you make. And so that's super valid point. What we've tried to do with the podcast is think about our world as a community where we share best practices, and you're super generous with your time, both in the prep and coming here today, and your ideas. And I think for anybody who's at the front end of the curve on this stuff, it's this is going to be super helpful, and probably push them to do what I did, to say, wow, I need to go learn more. So thank you so much for contributing to this.
Hey, absolutely. And I'm very appreciative of you guys thinking of me and reaching out to me and, taking my, considering my insights. So I love that you got your podcast. When you guys called me up, I did listen to a few episodes. It's really valuable. And I think it does bring that community sense. So whenever someone is either doing really well or struggling in their sales job, I think coming to this and kind of hearing that people are going through the same thing, or maybe grabbing some nuggets of how they can improve their process and their professional success, I think it's invaluable. So I think I speak for a lot of people in the industry. We appreciate for what you guys do and the information that you're putting out.
And it's really fun and gratifying too, I have to tell you. Yeah. And for folks that are listening, we've just reorganized. We have 50 some episodes, and now we have enough that we have categories. So, if you're thinking about sales training and methodology or tech, they're now into categories. And I think you're right from that socialization perspective, to say, hey, I'm facing this thing, I'm going to go listen to 4 of my peers. So I think there is a real human element to that. So yeah, thank you so much. And again, for your time, and hopefully, maybe the next one we'll talk about the human impact of all this, because I love that topic. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.